Done.
Fucking hell. Just learn to click when I say click.
So for anyone who has just tuned in, which is all of you, because
No,
this
you
will
don't.
inevitably be
well,
the cold open.
You
Let
edit
me
this.
speak. It's my turn to speak now.
Well, no, but Cole, you edit this. So you can't say if you've just tuned in because it's a fucking podcast. Who opens a podcast and goes to like 13 minutes in?
Some people might be walking in as the podcast is being. Maybe there's a little
But
mother
one of it is the intro as well.
Yeah, maybe.
So
you're not listening to me.
So it's the intro, and if you've just tuned in. So
Maybe-
surely it doesn't matter if you've just tuned in, regardless of little fucking Sally with a stupid little child. playing
Maybe
it.
little old Sally with big thick glasses, a little bit grimy, but she's not grimy, it's just her glasses.
Hate Sally.
She walks in 13 minutes in to little Timmy, her grandson, actually,
Fuck you,
listening
Sally.
to the podcast. And she goes, wow, I have just tuned in.
Why does she sound like Mickey Mouse? Or
Wow.
Owen Wilson? What a podcast.
Whoa. Yeah, there you go. So that answers your question.
Sally,
Anyway,
if you're listening, fuck you. Bow, ticka, down, bow, ba-now.
you have to just be rude, don't you?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SubPar Poddy C, episode number 56, officially
Unofficially.
the best podcast on the internet. My name is Stumping.
My name is Cole.
It is indeed, and we are going to be talking all about Cool Carl, some North American RLCS, because we saw some banging grand finals. Going to be chatting about John Sandman's involvement with the RLCS coming up, beyond the summit, and then what we want to be seeing come into Rocket League Esports in 2021. But before then, Cole, we've got some patrons.
We do indeed. Shall we go old school and read this trio one after another, one each?
Yeah. Now, this first one...
I know what you're going to say.
I'm gonna go for a punt on this one. What are you doing? You're looking down. What are you looking
Sorry, I'm sending a quick message.
at? Are you WhatsApping live on the podcast?
I am. I'm listening to you. I'm just sending a very quick message.
No, go on, mate. I'll wait.
No, if you look.
No, go on, mate. I'll wait.
It's done.
It wasn't even to the chat that I'm in.
No, it wasn't to you. It was to my darling girlfriend.
Tell her right now. Right, record a voice note.
I'm not recording a voice note. Move on. Look, how do we say this person's name, this patron's name? That's the big question of the day.
Right, well,
Let's
it
go
sounds,
back to that bit.
It's like a foreign one. It's like a Scandinavian one. I need to get into the feel of how a Scandinavian would talk. So
Just before, do you think
I was clearly on
know-
the flow.
Yeah, I know you were, but I was on the flow earlier when I was talking about old Janet. or
When you
whatever
were
her
on
name
your
was.
WhatsApp.
No, before then, in the cold open, when I said if anyone's just tuned in, I was clearly doing a bit, and you were Mr. Interrupty Face. Stop looking at your phone now, you filthy hypocrite.
No, because Chaz, my girlfriend, has just messaged me saying, I'm WhatsApping you to ruin the podcast.
Hey, we're being listened to. Nice.
Thanks, Chaz.
My girlfriend isn't that self-aware. She just does it. Anyway, what I was going to say was, so this patron knows that they've patroned. Do you reckon, as we're doing the Swedish voice, they're thinking, they're talking about me? Or do you reckon when we say their name, they'll be like, wait, I'm the weird foreign one?
Wait, me? I put an H where an H clearly isn't needed? Okay, right. So, let's get back into it.
Yep.
So, Poddy C, I'm going to talk about the Patreons. So, the first one we've got is Eric. Yeah, it feels like an Eric. Like in it also sounds like a DJ stopping a thing. Eric. So that's how it feels to me in my Scandinavian tongue mouth.
I really hope that Eric becomes a DJ and calls himself DJ Eric. It'd be like his signature, his own name.
This next one's weird.
Matthew.
Yeah,
Matthew.
Yeah, very odd. And finally, Icarus or Icarus. Who is one of our Discorders and one of our chatters in Twitch chat, who recently got engaged. So congratulations.
I hope that everybody listening to this is applauding at the same time as us, because that's wonderful.
You know how I normally ask people for when there's like, it's a weird place to listen from?
It normally is, to be fair.
That I want them to have a picture of them near it if they are from that area. I would like to see just a single person, right, have a little video that they tweet out, maybe atting us at SubPar of just them just doing a little just for Icarus. So if you could do that, just you don't say anything. You don't need to show your face, nothing like that. You could literally film the floor and we just hear you making a little... Oh, no, that could be a bit weird. Okay, we have to see your hands because I don't want it to get weird.
Yeah, it shouldn't sound fappy.
I don't want to hear fappy clappy.
Put on hashtag clap for Icarus, and we'll make a compilation of the 2 people that will do it.
No,
It'll
we're
be
not
a really
making a
sad
compilation.
Why? Why can't we make a sad compilation of 2 people doing it?
Because it's going to be us doing it first, and then it'll be some prick from, I don't know, Cheese Belt, Illinois. And then we'll go from there. And then Icarus is like, oh, we'll have to play it at his wedding, like, sort of legally.
I'm looking at our Discord now. Who will it be? I bet it will be...
You're calling people out?
Lethal with a 3. I reckon he is the clapper.
The threefold.
The threefold. Yeah.
Maybe. Cool,
Yeah.
Carl.
Yep.
Tell you who clapped.
Go on, son.
Who clapped this weekend in the RLCS? It was only bloody Envy. They were a pretty much unstoppable team. They had the entire upper bracket run, and they were incredible. I have literally no idea how Turbo Pulsar continues to do it. Genuinely, I don't get it, because I saw a really interesting comment on the subreddit where somebody said, I completely understand why NRG dropped Turbo, and I agree. I think it made sense at the time to drop Turbo. It makes complete sense. And there were lots of people disagreeing with him, saying, no, he should have stayed on NRG. They would have been a much better team, which I disagree with, because I feel like people are looking at, clearly the recency bias, because now Turbo is sick again. On NRG, he was lacking. He was not mechanical whatsoever. When he scored a double tap, it was very impressive. Like, that's the level that he was at. And now, he is mechanically very, very competent. He still does, like, really stupid, like, looking things like the safest aerials ever, which is quite funny.
We'll never forget that.
But he'll go for really nice angles and stuff like that. So, no, it made complete sense for NRG to switch him out for Squishy. And Envy they are the best team in North America by, I think, a decent margin at this point.
I completely agree. I've said many times on this podcast that I am shocked that Turbo Pulsar continues to find a way to do it. He always has that magical pixie dust that enables him to remain at the top of this scene. When we get to a level in another year where you have to be as mechanically good as Justin is now just to compete, Turbo will have improved. He'll be about... he'll be that little bit better than he is now, but still, he will be the only non-mechanical player out there. And it will just be the ultimate question of how does he continue to do it. It's incredible. I need to download so many series and watch them from his perspective to see what it is that he does so well. Because players like him are a dying breed. And yet... he is such an important anchor man for Team Envy, and I agree with you as well. I think it's difficult to say otherwise. The Envy, I would say the least fashionable of the big 4 at the start of this season, have become
for good
unquestionably,
reason.
yeah, exactly,
new, like,
deservedly.
One thing as well that I think, going on that point of why Turbo is a part of a dying breed. He's one of the old guard and part of the roster of the very practical play. He is, I think, the biggest embodiment of Lionel Messi, because to me, right, he is positionally has kept up exactly where he needs to be. He doesn't try and overextend and then go somewhere he doesn't need to be and then work his way back to the position he should be in. He works his way to the place he should be to poach a goal, to get a bump, whatever it ends up being, in the perfect time. He doesn't go too far then have to backtrack at all. And he's also now getting those mechanics, which is what, Messi is always touted as a very mechanical player. So I think for me, Turbo Pulsar is Lionel Messi.
I was thinking more Claude Makalele, an important player in the centre of the pitch, pulling the strings. Jordan Henderson, no matter how old he gets, he always seems to step up to whichever level he needs to be at. Maybe Gini Wijnaldum, another player for Liverpool.
It again doesn't exist. You're making up names.
Isn't the most skillful player in the world, but is an attacking player that knows where to be on the pitch. There
His
are many
little Ruud
examples.
van Nistelrooy is...
How so?
It's because he's Dutch.
Nothing about what you just said
Is
was
Ruud
correct,
van Nistelrooy Dutch?
He is Dutch, yes. Ruud van Nistelrooy, the bastard, he relegated Ipswich Town from the Premiership in 2001.
Because he played for United, didn't he?
He did. I remember me, 8 years old, watching whatever the Match of the Day show was called then, and
Gary Lineker's Big Breakfast.
It wasn't a penalty. Go back and watch Ipswich v Man U,
Fuck's sake.
2001. We were battling to survive in our second season in the Prem after we'd finished 5th the season before. It was not a penalty, and if we'd got a point, we may have stayed up, and I wouldn't support the most depressing team in the world. So
He's a bit of a David
fan.
Seaman. Is
go on.
Turbo
It's
Pulsar.
Turbo.
Yeah, sort of long hair.
Defensive.
Got a ponytail too. What
English.
other players can I think of? Does Bastian Schweinsteiger still play?
Jesus Christ. No.
So people that don't know, pretty much all of my football knowledge is either from 2008, 2009 or 2020. That's about where I'm at. And 2020 is about 1% of my football knowledge. I didn't play FIFA games for 10 years.
You're getting more into football at the moment, though. Whenever
Yeah,
I see a
soft
discussion
amount,
about
yeah.
football, whenever I see a discussion about football going on in our Discord, discord.gg/subpar.bit you are like, oh, cool, you'll give it a pog. You care to an extent. Is that fair?
Yeah,
You
I
won't
like
go out and
looking
watch
at
a
the
whole
subreddit
match.
as well. Soccer subreddit really is good to like keep me up to date. Like I saw the 95th minute winner last night
I saw it live,
versus
mate.
Chelsea, which was
By
fun.
Wolves. I gave a proper little, come on, I gave a proper little
Virgin
nerdy-
fist bump. What other football players do I know that I can think of who are they still active? Oh, Carlos Tevez. What's he up to?
Retired, I want to
Oh, that's a
say.
shame. I liked him. He was just mental. He was just a little brick of muscle.
With no neck.
He had
Just get
no
out
neck.
Come on, I'll fight you. I'm a
Yeah.
bulldog
He
from
went to-
Argentina.
He wanted to fight everyone.
Wayne Rooney, what are your thoughts on him?
Oh, hair transplant. Speaking of which, a little wrap round to last episode. There was some discussion, Colin, that apparently a horsehair transplant isn't as weird as I made it out to be, but there was no counter evidence.
No, because nobody said it was real. I never said, oh yeah, it is a real thing, you idiot. Of course it is. I said that it was feasible.
You presumed that you would have. We won't go too far back into it because I'm sure people
We
are sick
could.
of it.
I'm sure
But-
they're not.
I think. Oh, God. We're relying on each other for the memory now.
I said horsehair transplants are real. Or at least could be real.
Put that on the gravestone.
And you said that's unfeasible because it's animal to
Because
human.
it's different tissue. Yeah.
What I
on a
should have
scalp.
said was that we always inject animal shit into us. We eat animal.
Well, yeah, but that's different to. You can't just like graft a dog tail onto you and the tail then just works.
Could you though?
No,
would watch that
because you'd
film.
need to link.
We
I'd
could
watch the
write that
film.
film.
I would watch the film. We're not writing a film, and
Why
I
would we write a
would.
film of me
You'd
about
need
a
to
dogtail being grafted?
because it. Have you seen the amount of like human wires that you need to like reconnect a finger? And that's literally your finger or like your hand or something. If that gets all like chopped off, you can reconnect it, but it takes forever. I saw a hand grafted to someone's shin. the
Oh
other
yeah,
day.
they sort of grow it out and then move it, don't they? It's
yeah,
really
for
cool.
like the blood supply. It's like, and it's like the body then doesn't reject it. So it's like, yep,
Ears
hand,
on rats.
hand belongs there.
That's
Ears
a
on
good
rats, yeah.
example of animal-human.
Well, that's human
Inter-
to animal, yeah. And
but
also,
then they-
rats
they-
have less rights than humans, so that trial would be much easier to pass.
But then am I right in thinking that the reason you grow an ear on a rat is to then graft onto a human one day? You slice it off and whack it on
It
the
is
human.
to keep the, as far as I know, it is to keep the ear alive. So that's not, bear in mind, a rat's ear. It's a human ear from a human person put onto a rat. The blood supply keeps the ear alive. Then the
Mental.
human ear then gets put back on a human. So all it's doing is realistically going
It's a
human,
surrogate.
but surrogate, yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Then back to human. If you met someone, Cole,
Exactly.
who was walking around with a tiny little rat is, would you trust them?
No, what? No, why have you made me out to be the ridiculous one here? If my point last episode, whenever it was,
Last
was that-
episode.
it was last episode. If we went back in time
Mhm.
and I said to you, and you're an 1800s man, I hate the poor.
Oh, yes, get up the chimney, boy.
Hello there, sir. I've seen the future.
Get up the chimney, boy.
Listen to my telling you of the future first.
Fine,
sir.
fine. What's your...
I went to a science lab in the year 2008, and they grafted a human ear onto a rat, sir.
How was Carlos Tevez?
He's still a big bulldog of an Argentinian,
Good,
sir.
good. Was they put a human ear on a rat, did they?
Yes, what are your thoughts on that, sir? Do you think that sounds feasible as an 1800s man?
Yes, that sounds perfectly okay to me, boy. That
What
sounds
about
fantastic.
horsehair on a human?
You're a fucking idiot, boy. You're clearly insane. You've had too much coal in the ears.
Up I go, sir, up to the bloody mine.
Boy, why do you have rat ears?
End scene.
End scene with a giggle. I think, sure, Cole, if you want to be the first human to have horse hair, I think it was also the fact that you said you'd want the tail so you could then cut it down.
Well, that's the human hairiest bit.
Human hairiest.
Maybe it's mane or tail.
Horses' manes and their tails are such thick hair.
So's mine. You're looking at it right now. Tell me otherwise. You can't, can you?
Otherwise. All right, go.
You can't bring yourself to do it.
So we were talking about Envy, right? And starting off with a match that I did not think would go 4-0 was Envy versus NRG. I fully saw NRG winning that match. I thought it'd be a close one, a 4-2, 4-3 to NRG. But to not get a single game for NRG is very disappointing. I thought they were NA's best hope for a solid few weeks, but it is very tumultuous at the top.
You weren't the only one. 83% of Twitch chat in the little prediction thing that happens before the games, which is amazing, by the way. More features like that. I love the interaction, please. 83% said that NRG were going to beat Envy, which I remember the analyst desk were like, okay, that's a little bit weighted by probably super fans of Squishy coming along and saying they're going to have them. But it's fair to say that NRG were favourites going into that series. But that's
I would have had
the
them, yeah.
way. You could put Envy up against sipping bloody ice cubes, and people will say, yeah, I think sipping ice cubes take this one. I just think the mechanics of Forky are going to be enough to see him away. And then Envy, of course, just the better team. Always seems to be the case of Envy that they're predicted to lose and they end up absolutely bossing it, which is sort of an extrapolation of Turbo himself.
Yeah, I do find it funny that looking at their results, the only two teams that Envy got a clean sweep against were NRG and Space Station. Otherwise, they lost a game to Down to Earth, lost a game to Ghost, lost 3 games to Rogue, and then they ended up going 4-0 NRG. But then, Cole, over in the grand finals, Space Station managed to make it. So Space Station had somebody was very proud of themselves because they corrected me on Twitter. They didn't have the longest run that they could have had. They were short by a single series because they had the bye for the second round. But they went down the first series they played after losing to Alpine. And then Space Station managed to go through Sol, version 1, which was an amazing series.
Yeah.
Ghost Gaming, both of those going to 5. Kansas City Pioneers, G2, Rogue, who had just gone to 7 versus Envy. They 4-0'd them. Beat NRG and then got to the grand finals. That lower bracket run is incredible.
And I'm so happy as well, because I think it's always worth reiterating, for all the abuse we chuck at Rettles, I speak for us both when I say we absolutely adore the little shit, because Rocket League Esports would be so much worse and more plain without him. We're still talking about his tweets 2 weeks later. Imagine if the scene didn't have that sort of dynamite in it. What would we talk about? So thank you so much,
We
Rettles.
need Rettles.
Keep being you, just please. And also, yeah, for that reason, I was hoping that SSG did make the lower bracket run. It was funny for them to have lost in Regional 1, but now they need to be back at the top and defeating everyone. And thank goodness that they were.
For me, I was happy that they lost originally because it's just funny.
Exactly, it is.
It's just funny. Rettles also on one of the shows, he said, yeah, maybe I got ahead of myself. Maybe Twitter went a little bit too hard, which was really funny. So it's good that they lost originally because then this lower bracket run could be possible. I then wanted them to lose versus version 1 because I've been backing version 1 and again, it would have been funny. Okay. Yeah, Com is amazing on version 1. Awesome team. Gimmick and Torment as well, looking to get to their former level, which is amazing to see. But yeah, I wanted them to lose there. As soon as they beat V1, I'm on the Space Station train. Let's do it. Let's make the lower bracket run. I want to see them go as far as they possibly can. But yeah, NRG dropping down and meeting in the losers finals. NRG really looked very lackluster, and it was quite disappointing because I have touted them as NA's best hope to beat BDS. At which point, this is now getting a lot more iffy-wiffy at the top of EU as well. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see again what happened with NRG. To me, it just looked like they got outplayed on pretty much everything. They weren't first to the ball on near enough every single play. I think they went 7 games in a row having lost. A 7-game loss streak, and then they won 1 versus Space Station, and then they ended up losing the final 5th one.
Yeah, that looks right. So NRG beat G2 in the 7th by 1-0. Nervy win against them. Then they got smacked 4-0 by Team Envy. Then they lost the first 3, as you say, to SSG. So lost 7 in a row overall. Then got a 1-0 win. And then lost 6-2 after that. So they couldn't exactly take that momentum. I think it was just that Space Station Gaming had built up so much momentum in the lower bracket. They got their mojo back. They'd got their energy back, their belief had returned. It seemed that they'd lost it very briefly. The same thing happened to NRG. Remember when Squishy first joined? NRG were winning everything, and then this was in the off season, where all the community events were happening. Then they finally got that first win, and since then they've been comfortably top 3, regularly top 1. Space Station Gaming had that same little dip, and their bounce back occurred by taking down Version 1 and Ghost in those game 5s, and then by the time they reached KCP, they were pretty much back to not their best, but approaching that level of confidence again, which led them to that amazing grand finals. And what a grand final it was versus Team Envy. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, bracket reset, which is amazing. I'm just looking also on Liquipedia. For some reason, it's got the 3 in bold for Envy, which seems harsh, but I presume that's because they ended up winning in the end.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a bug or if that's how it's meant to look.
Lukash.
He's rubbish, isn't he?
Do your fucking job, Lukash.
It's signed by Liquid and sells out. Doesn't care anymore.
So yeah, I mean, that bracket reset, Carl, I know that you have got a fun little stat about that.
I mean, yeah, it's a weighted stat. It's the fact that it's our first big bracket reset in the RLCS since Season 6, which...
Cloud9 dig.
Yeah, Cloud9 dig, which is sort of a little bit weighted because I don't think it was possible for there to be a bracket reset in Season 7.
Mate, it's still a stat that you'd proudly say on the stream.
It is one that I'd trot out. I mean, bracket resets are incredibly rare. I can't remember the exact numbers, but there hasn't been a top-level successful bracket reset since then either in any event, and there have been 1 or 2 that have featured the potential for bracket resets. So they are indeed a very rare thing in the world of Rocket League. It's so hard
to do. Like... Because of how many games you need to play on the day to come from the lower bracket. Bear in mind, Envy played 2 series. 3 in the end, but like they went into 2 series. They played NRG, 4-0 them, then they're in the grand finals. On one day, Space Station had to do a best of 7 versus G2, Rogue, NRG, and then they meet Envy. And that can work against teams. We saw the biggest example of this, and one that leads to the worst grand finals, was Season 4, where it was Gale Force Esports versus Method, where the real grand finals was in the winners finals. Up at the top, Gale Force versus Method was incredible. Method ended up losing, went down, I think smacked Cloud9 in the losers finals, I think.
Checking now, Cloud9, 4-2, yeah.
Bosh. And then they ended up going to the grand finals and got 4-0. Or was it 4-1 or was it 4-0?
They got 4-0'd.
And it was just
2-1, 4-0, 2-1, 2-1. And from what I can remember, the games weren't as close as those numbers.
Yeah, they were sluggish. It was really tough.
It was over.
Which is fine because it's horrible to try and do. But this one was much better. The first one going to 7, the full 7 games, which is amazing. One of them also having an 8.5 minute overtime, followed by a 4-minute overtime. So they played another 2 games on top. 2 and a bit games on top. And the second series was just 4-0 to Envy. It was done. Envy they were more awake, and Space Station were in a very tough position. But man, that lower bracket run is really incredible.
It's impressive. It's so impressive. It's one of those things. We can debate the merits of bracket reset versus a 1-0 head start until the cows come home. But to me, even though Envy pulled away from a clearly tied SSG in that second series, all it would have taken was one fortunate goal in one of the games where they lost 4-0, and suddenly SSG could theoretically have rallied. Whereas if Envy had started 1-0 up, then Envy would have won the series 4-2, sorry, because of the 1-0 lead they had. And the same would have happened in the EU as well for Queso versus Top Bloke. So I think that the results we've had so far in Regional 2 continue to prove that bracket resets are the way to go.
Completely.
But definitely in the second series, the team that's coming from the top should have a big advantage. But I think it's. I guess I think it's streaky, where the team from the top will have the advantage because they're more relaxed and less.
They're less
fatigued.
tired. Yeah.
However, the second team does have momentum, meaning that one big goal can completely switch the play. So I can see in that second series the fact that either team could end up 4-0ing or 4-1ing based on how the system works.
Yeah, I mean, I've been completely with you on that. I do not like a one-game advantage. All you're doing is removing content.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it. That's all you're doing. If a TO wants to give a grand final advantage, make it a bracket reset. That's completely fine. They've got the advantage for that. You're less tired ultimately. But don't remove content. Because it completely fucks with the competitiveness of it as well. It's like, oh, well, we're already one down. Like that just fucks with your mindset instantly. So yeah, no, awesome stuff. It was so good to watch. I absolutely loved it. Envy were probably, I would say, the best team in the world at that point. I think that is a team that is better than anybody in Europe. Whether they can continue that is to be seen. Whether anybody can challenge them is to be seen. I'm sure they will. I'm very excited to see if they will. But that is it, Cole, for the North American RLCS, and therefore the RLCS in 2020.
Oh, it's over. It's sad. There were a lot of love messages sent about RL Esports, and deservedly so. I've said this many times on podcasts, but I think it's worth mentioning again, just like the fact that we love Rettles, it's worth repeating this sort of thing, that at the start of 2020, pandemic hits, there's no football, there's no sport, there's no new TV. I mean, they had a bit of a buffer, but for the most part, nothing new is happening in the world. And for me, the fact that Rocket League Esports existed was so important to my mental health that every weekend I had something to look forward to. I could laugh at someone who scored an own goal. I could chat with our community about the sick plays that we saw. I could just tune in at a certain time, watch something for a few hours, lose myself in it, and just be a Rocket League fan first and foremost. For me personally, that was of chief importance to me being able to continue streaming, etc., and not just turning into a sludge head.
And then you got bloody hired, so you couldn't even just sit back and relax. Which
yeah,
was
exactly. That was even before the fact that I did get hired, and then when they did hire me, everything times 5 for the importance for me and my identity, I suppose. So Rocket League Esports, I would like to thank you for existing this year when we all needed you.
I actually hated how much Rocket League there is. It's been too much, I think. Yeah, it's been a year since the last LAN, which is something that was I saw on Twitter from. I originally saw it because I saw a UK election map where they said this time last year the Tories won, and I thought, wait, I saw those results roll in live in Madrid in a food market, and I was sad.
Yeah.
And so I then posted a picture of mine and Shogun's little chocky. Our little chocky date, which was very sweet. And then people, I don't know if other people started it or like just sort of saw, oh, it was LAN a year ago today. But after I posted mine, I saw a couple of hours later, a load of people had then posted their LAN memories. And it was really nice just looking back and seeing everyone's pictures of like them like having dinner in a cafe, or if it's them in the arena, them with their friends that they've not seen since. It was really nice to go back and like reminisce. I saw Shogun also say that he didn't want to see anybody posting or tagging him in posts because he was just going to get sad there's not been a LAN yet. But the fact it's been now over a year since the last LAN is crazy. That's so long. It's quite... It's quite sad because of how much Rocket League Esports has grown. A year ago, we didn't care about BDS. Like, they were a rival series team that had done pretty good, but realistically, I didn't know of them because that was always on a day where we were recording our literal actual TV show.
It's true.
It was a team that nobody looked at. It's when Turbo had just won with NRG, and now we're saying that he's just knocked down Space Station Gaming and on a completely different squad. It's missed not being with Rettles and Gyro anymore, and those three now being split up. It's a lot has changed, and it's sad in a way because it means that, hey, we've not had LAN for a year, we're not able to see our friends for a year, but also it's going to be such a fucking party when we return. Oh my god.
Yeah, completely. It's ironic to think that in the year the world stood still, Rocket League took giant leaps towards becoming, if not a tier 1 esport, than the best esport that it possibly can be. It's incorporated so much talent. It's changed from the ground up. RLCS X, if we'd have spoken to ourselves a year ago and said that one day you're going to wake up and Psyonix are going to announce this thing, a year's worth of Rocket League, 3 splits, 3 regionals plus a major for each region.
$4.5 million.
We would say, nah, surely not.
Anyway, I can't wait to watch it. We look at each other, future ourselves, and just wink. We're like, oh.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll love watching it. Anyway, cast your minds back. And I was like, what do you mean, future me? I clearly know that you're hinting at something. I know you're me. I know your intonation.
You'll have to work overtime to catch up with this Rocket League.
I probably wouldn't get that one because I don't know what the grid is.
The grid?
Oh, the grid.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. I think, it's Rocket League Esports. It's a bit of a love letter to Rocket League Esports because...
It's got to be. It deserves it.
I put out a tweet replying to someone. I've been putting out a lot of tweets recently. And I put out a tweet the other day just saying the love that I have got for every single person behind the scenes at Psyonix, especially in the esports team, because that's who we talk to most, it's immeasurable. They work so hard. We always knew they worked hard, and we did rag on them a lot because we weren't privy to any information.
Yeah.
We're privy to a bit more now, but still people ask us, hey, where's LAN going to be? We're like, they don't know. We don't know. We know nothing about that. I am so impressed with every single person behind the scenes at Rocket League Esports. I love them all dearly. We don't just work on them for 2 hours a week with the UGC stream and then the Rocket RB stream, and then that's it. We're doing UGC, we're then doing Rocket RB. On the Sunday, we've then amazingly been brought in to work for every single every single regional finals for EU, which is incredible. That's so amazing of them. The trust they put in us for that. Not only that, we also produce videos for them to go up on their official socials to do a recap to show off their esport, and we front an entire bloody 4-hour block of bollocks nonsense show looking at the grid overtime. It's so much trust that they have in us, and we have got full faith in them. And everybody who's listening to this who thinks I've not seen much from them, the amount of work they do, Rocket League Esports is in the best hands possible right now.
It's just communication as well. So you mentioned that John Sandman had tweeted earlier on that he wants to get involved in RLCS. And to me, part of why the RL Esports team is so amazing nowadays is the little things. How active they are on Twitter, how much they have their ear to the ground, listening to what's going on, the rumblings, what the community are talking about, getting involved in memes, getting involved in jokes, and just responding and talking to their fans. And a great example of that was John Sandman, the big man, 1 million subs on YouTube, probably on 1.2 million nowadays. Nice. Does he follow me? I'll just check.
Does he actually? I don't know. I don't know why he follows me, because we had like food with him.
Follows you? Hey!
In Vegas. Nice. We had food with him in Vegas. Then like 6 months later, he followed me. And I don't know what I did 6 months later, but I got it. I nailed it.
Maybe he saw a Korean barbecue shop and he was like, that makes me think of Stumpy Goblin. Stumpy Goblin. I'm not following Stumpy Goblin on Twitter.
No.
Twitter.com/Stumpy Goblin or whatever the hell it is.
Drop that. Why would it be anything else?
Could be Stumpy Gobbets.
Could be Stumpy Gobbets. That's a really good point, actually.
You could change it to Stumpy Gobbets.
No, I'm not changing my @ to Stumpy Gobbets, because then you'll snipe in and take Stumpy Goblin and extort me.
That would be hilarious. Anyway, the point I was making was that John Sandman tweeted out on a whim, how could I be a guest caster for RLCS? I don't want to take anyone's job. I just want to get hyped. At RL Esports, smiley face. And I believe that in years gone past, that would have been liked and retweeted by all the followers and all the players and casters, but not responded to. Whereas the new look, amazing, communicative RL Esports team responded with, let's talk, and then a sunglasses face. It's like, fuck yeah, let's talk.
Yeah.
Now I'm hyped. I'm in.
It's so cool. Like,
yep.
I completely agree. A couple of years ago, a year ago maybe a year and a half, this wouldn't have happened. But now, one thing I would say is I wouldn't want to get John on to cast, because casting can be restrictive in that you need to talk about the game. I don't want to hear John Sandman casting again. I want to hear him on the desk. I want him on a pre-show.
Yes.
John Sandman on a pre-show for half an hour would be so good. It would just be hilarious. So hopefully that's the direction they go with. Unless he's been casting in the background, doing some post-morts, looking at some VOD reviews, seeing how he can improve. But otherwise, John Sandman on a pre-show, I am fully there. Give him a half an hour slot to get weird.
Yeah, it's not even a case of getting weird. I mean, he's a hilarious human being, but just the fact that his enthusiasm for anything is so contagious that if he tweeted out saying, yo, I'm about to be here on twitch.tv/Rocket League, tune in, you bet your bottom dollar that a lot of his million YouTube subs would at least check it out. And these are people who adore Rocket League, who could watch this man play Rocket League 24 hours a day, probably, because of that infectious enthusiasm that he has for everything.
And he is
loves.
like that in real life as well.
Yeah.
You should say, he is exactly as he is on camera as he is in real life. And it's very impressive.
So seeing him on a pre-show just to be a fanboy of Rocket League Esports and to be the gateway into the world of RL Esports for so many of his fans that love the game but have probably never even heard of a Justin. So you go, wow, keep an eye out for this guy. I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll keep an eye out for that guy. If John Sandman says
Will
it.
do, John Sandman. Sign my profile, John Sandman. That's what they'd say.
Okay. That's what he'd say. I bet he says that to everyone that asks him. God, I love him.
He's so violent.
Okay.
Okay then. He sounds like a metal singer.
I bet he'd be good at that.
Yeah, probably. He shaved his beard off for a thing, and he looks like a baby.
Aw,
Yeah,
baby
he looks
Sandman.
sweet. Yeah, baby Sandman.
In
No,
his Twitter cover
it'd be
photo, he
awesome.
looks ginger, but he's not ginger.
Oh, he sprayed carrots onto his head. That's for a prank he did. Looking like a ginger for a day. He had the shit kicked out of him.
Did he get bullied?
Yeah, repeatedly. Deservedly,
That's
if
fair.
anything.
Yeah, definitely deserved it.
So yeah, John Sandman, get him on a pre-show. The fact that that's even a conversation is so cool. I absolutely love it. They've already got us on there. They've got nothing to lose at this point. They've already reached the bottom of the barrel. So looking forward to that. Otherwise, Cole, we will take a quick detour via Beyond the Summit Lane because North America, that started yesterday, and there's a few results that we have seen. The format of Beyond the Summit goes as thus. Yesterday was the first day of North America, and then today, which is, God, what day is it? Wednesday.
16th.
Wednesday the 16th is then going to be the second day of North America, and then the 17th and 18th, that is going to be Europe Day, and the Saturday, so the 19th, is the North American final, Sunday, European final.
It is very reminiscent of old school RLCS, where Saturday, at least for the finals, is NA Day, and then Sunday is EU Day. It's like, warm, fuzzy feelings inside. This is, of course, the classic Beyond the Summit chill broadcast. Obviously, and they've said this from the beginning, they wish it could have everybody in a big room, but because 2020 is awful, that's just not possible nowadays. So they are doing
Maybe
everything
we'll
they
be
can
there next year. How cool would
I'd
that be?
love that very much indeed
love that
at
a
Beyond the
lot.
Summit. Get us involved, lads.
Please.
But for now, yeah, this is your classic online broadcast. Best of sevens in the group stages. Finish top two, go through to the upper bracket. Finish third in your group of four, go through to the lower bracket and finish fourth, and you're out of here because you're rubbish at things. And the games so far have popped off. They've been great.
Yeah, so one shock result for me was it was Space Station Gaming versus version 1, and Space Station beat version 1. And you're listening to that and you're thinking, well, that's not that weird. But Chrome was stepping in for Rettles because Rettles had school. God, he's young.
He's too young.
He's 2.
And young.
He's 2 and young, both of those things. So yeah, Chrome stepped in for Rettles.
Will Young.
He is Will Young. Anybody in chat know Will Young? This isn't live.
Anyone in chat? Any? Can we get some pogs if you know Will Young, please, chat?
Any 30 gift sub Andes in chat? So yeah, it's Chrome stepped in for Rettles, and they still managed to beat V1. If I'm V1 in that series, oh god.
Banging series, to be fair.
Great series, went to 7.
Yeah, it did. 3-1 in the final game. Chrome was just the carry. He was a monster. He was scoring goals left, right, and centre. It was like the good old days. Evil geniuses, Chrome, Classux, and
Corrupted G.
Corrupted G, yeah, with a pirate's hat. Oh man, season 5.
That was so fun. And stamping at landings. That had literally the best floor ever. Not many people appreciate a floor, but we were all so happy that the floor was just metal and apparently
I appreciate your flaws.
Plastic underneath.
I like your flaws, mate.
My floor? I've recently got my floor redone.
Your
So
flaws.
I've got it's nice wood now. We also had our living room redecorated. It's really cool. Did you see the pictures in the end?
Yes, I did. And I've forgotten them, but I did see them, and I was impressed at the time. I have to see them again,
Cool.
because you showed our producer, and I saw it then.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's like sort of animally printy, not like a leopard
Yes,
print.
I remember. Wallpaper. Yeah. It looks great.
Yeah, it's
I
cool
love it.
wallpaper. And we've got
Really
our
cool.
tree up. We've got some lights up. We put some lights on the windows. Oh my god, I love it. So yeah, whatever the fuck we're talking about. North America, beyond the summit. So yeah, we're going to be there for the European Sturf. So that's going to be on Thursday and Friday. Very much looking forward to working on that because we've not worked with Beyond the Summit just yet. And Cole, it's not just normal Rocky Logs.
No, so unfortunately, last night there wasn't room or time or space or people or for whatever reason they weren't able to play Mafia last night, but that is still a thing. Fear not. We'll certainly be doing it when EU begins tomorrow as we record this. And as well as that, because Mafia's been done, and I think we'll be hard pressed to have a better moment than CJ's Jarzo
Why didn't
moment.
CJ save Jarzo?
We'll ask him
Which,
that.
by the way, was brought up in the production meeting that we had multiple times. Saying, "Yeah, look, guys, we're gonna make new memes," and CJ just rolls his eyes.
Well, the thing is, so when we were doing a tech test, they showed CJ, and we could all see CJ. So I went, "CJ, give us a wave," and he just sort of looked at the camera a bit tiredly, and I was like, "Oh, he's a bit grumpy, isn't he?" And then it turned out that for you, me, and CJ, it was 4:30 in the morning. so that was me going, "CJ, give us a wave!"
Oh, go on, CJ, wave to me, CJ. Yeah, half
And
four.
CJ was just
up.
thinking, "Shut the fuck up, Cole." I had no idea it was that early. Then.
I didn't
so
either.
Credit to those guys for living in a terrible place with a terrible
Awful.
time zone. And still, we haven't actually gone through who we're going to be working with on the EU side of things. So Stumpy and I will be working with Johnny Smellsworth, CJ, whoever, some guy called Smellsworth, CJ, and lovely Yumi Cheeseman. They are our team. And yeah, sorry, Stumpy, you did say that there was more than just Rocket League. There's also more than just Mafia, because Lethamir's amazing game modes, and he's been working on those in his basement to very little thanks for about 2 years, finally are being shown front and center. His tetherball game mode, which is absolutely incredible, which is basically like swing ball for anybody in the UK with
tetherball.
With the heat seeker ball. That's being played on broadcast by good players, and it's like, oh, how fun does that look? It looks absolutely brilliant. And Turtle, the legend, he scored a sweet doink.
Legend.
And Daz, who was casting, even said the word doink. So I was like, that was like quad winnings right there.
Well, we've not been told off for saying doink yet on RLCS. We've said it a few times, so I think that word is now okay. I think it's kosher again. I think it's trendy.
Kosher. It is kosher. And there was also a I don't know if it's been displayed yet, because it got too late for me, or if it will be shown, but there's going to be a pre-recording of Lethamir's Among Us game mode, and I've seen the YouTube video of him creating that. Oh,
it's ridiculous.
God. He had a team of 4. It was him, his sister, Cinderblock, and I'm so sorry, but someone else, I can't remember the exact names, who were working on the coding for different things. So Leth designed the map, somebody else designed all the coding, Lethamir's sister designed the little panels and the little
Cinderblock
graphics.
is the Bacchus mod guy who is an absolute genius. He also did, Enrith wondering, he did the Sunless Khan auto aim, or the auto aim ball. And he also did the anti-auto aim ball. So, the ball literally wouldn't go in the net. Which was very, very funny videos as well.
Yeah, absolutely hilarious. And it's just incredible what they have created together. If anyone hasn't seen it, 100,000,000%, go on Lethamir's YouTube channel and check out We Created Among Us in Rocket League. It is not clickbait. It is not a joke. It is a genuine, built from the ground up game of Among Us, and you're a little third-person car, and when someone kills you, it has the little demo zoom, from a Batmobile when it gets demoed, and it says boom. It's awesome. It's so cool. And it's being shown to however many thousands of people live
really
on Twitch. Brilliant stuff.
Lethamir is putting so much effort in these maps as well, and I'm so happy to see them on a big broadcast. They wouldn't work in many other broadcasts, in fairness, than BTS. And also, Johnny Boy did a ice hockey game mode, but a good ice hockey table game mode. That was so. Did you watch that? The show match?
No, I hadn't seen that one.
It was Garrett and someone else versus Chicago and JNAPS or something like that. There was one moment, right, where when you're just playing Rocket League or playing any game, and for some reason one thing just completely sets you off and you just can't stop laughing.
Yeah.
There was one incredible own goal from Garrett, and it was the final goal for after a 5-minute overtime, and he was laughing like a peacock. Like, it was literally Garrett. For like a solid 6 minutes, they listened into the comms. Both those guys were laughing. Johnny and Leth, then I think Leth was there as well, then just both started crying from laughter. Everyone in chat was laughing. I was like watching it sort of like on my TV but doing stuff on my phone, and I looked up and I then was laughing for like a few minutes just because Garrett, you could like hear him trying to talk and then like trying to speak through his tears. It was so funny, like one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So no, I recommend people go back and watch that, because that was another Lethamyr map as well. He's been pumping them out, and there's so much credit to go to Lethamyr for them, because he's a genius with which ones he needs to make. The Fall Guys map as well that he made looked incredible. Hopefully, at some point, there will be an easier way to play them, rather than having to replace game files, whatever. Hopefully, it's just, hey, custom server browser, and then they're all made sure that they're okay from Psyonix. The only limitation, I imagine, is that
Epic.
It's not because it's Epic. It's because it's E for everyone. That's the main thing. So as soon as there is a map that is, I don't know, it just says fuck on the wall for some reason, then that content is no longer E for everyone, and therefore it can't be officially endorsed or like be able to be seen through the game itself. So it's got limitations, unlike CSGO or Gary's mod or whatever. You can do whatever you want because they aren't E for everyone. They're like 18s or 15s or whatever it ends up being. So yeah, hopefully there's going to be a chance for that to come to the mainstream a bit more, but otherwise awesome stuff thus far.
So if anybody is wondering which teams are involved in the EU side of Beyond the Summit, we're going to have, drumroll please, Team BDS, Top Blokes, Giants Gaming, Guild Esports, Galaxy Racer, Renault Vitality, Dignitas, and Endpoint.
Oh, nice. That's some good teams then. Good stuff. All right. Yeah. Look forward to seeing how that ends up going, because it's not a cheap old event, is it? There's a little cheeky bit of a prize pool.
25k each region.
25k per region.
It's not small at all.
Take it. Take that a lot. Take that and run with it. Otherwise, cool. That is it for the current RLCS / Rocket League esports side of things. So I think let's have a brief look ahead to 2021, because we said earlier about if we could talk back to our previous selves and say, hey, there's 3 splits and there's an overtime, and we'd confuse ourselves.
And a rat with a human's ear on it.
Wild. What would we say at that time? So, Cole, we are now the present time people, and we need to think in, let's say a year's time. So the recap episode, I don't know, whatever it'll be, like probably around an episode 100, around then. What would we like to see us talking about around the time of December 2021?
I want to see. So you were talking about how on Beyond the Summit, Garrett's personality shone through because he had his crying fit.
No, that was just on Johnny Boy's stream, but it was still like a thing. Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking that I don't remember hearing about that one. Right, that makes more sense. Okay, so on Johnny Boy's stream, Garrett's personality was shining through because people realised what an awesome, hilarious guy Garrett was, which is something we know as well because we've had him on this very podcast. And I think that Rocket League RLCS broadcasts, slowly but surely, are starting to embrace that fact. They've done amazing work. We mentioned the first Killer interview that they had before a Rogue game a couple of weeks ago, and there's been a few more of those coming out. That is a fantastic start. I think there's room for more still. So, I've been watching CSGO a hell of a lot. Like, every morning I'm checking what matches are on. I just absolutely adore the sport and the esport. And one thing they do brilliantly, especially a TO like Blast, is they pre-record content with various players, edit it together, and then chuck that on. So I know it's not quite as Rocket League as it could be, but in CSGO they have players on and they're comparing their favourite skins or playing higher and lower with the cost of skins. So that's a very CSGO-ish thing that we probably wouldn't do here, although there is obviously customization in Rocket League as well. But it could be anything. It could be that 4 players are playing hoops and it edits the funniest bits, shows their face cams, has some funny moments, cross-team tomfoolery.
Fairy Peak eating jelly.
Oh, I forgot about Fairy Peak eating jelly. That's Poddy C 26 or something. That's old.
That's not that
school,
long
man.
ago.
Is it not?
Don't
When
think
was
so.
Fairy Peak eating jelly? Fairy Peak
35?
eats jelly. Not
Do
Kelly.
you think that Fairy Peak eats Kelly?
Uh,
I don't imagine I put it in the tags annoyingly.
That's
That's on,
short-sighted.
that's on me.
That is very short-sighted of you.
But
Someone
yeah,
let us know.
cool content is something that I would love to see. Like
On an RLCS broadcast.
yeah, because these players have got so much personality. Also, just something to, because there's a disconnect. In CSGO, the people you're watching are at least people in game. In Rocket League, the people you're watching are cars. And there's that disconnect. It's a custom car. Fairy Peak's car, you'd recognize it now. Like, you know what it looks like. It's sort of like the 80s cigarette machine-looking car.
Sepia. Sad.
Yeah. So there is that customization, but what I would really like to see is professional headshots that come up when a goal is scored and it shows it on the like player banner thing at the bottom. This is also something that I would like to see is essentially take the Rocket Baguette overlay and put that into RLCS because that is so amazing. I'd like to see the player pictures, whack that on, because as soon as you see that face, you're like, oh, okay, I know him. And then when it comes to a LAN time, you see that face, you know that face, like, oh, that's Fairy Peak. He scored that ceiling pinch in the fall major or whatever it was. So yeah, I think player pictures for me just have less of a disconnect between car and people. What I do like is pre-rec interviews that they're doing and having the players answer fun little questions and going through more interviews live on stream as well, because the interviews are really fun. One thing I'd like to see as well, though, is different players. Every now and then we do see the same cycle, and I appreciate not everyone's going to be comfortable going on camera. Equally, though, I'd love for any content creators, I'd love for any pros who are listening right now who are thinking, I don't normally go on like the cameras or whatever. Do it. I'd really, really recommend doing it. It boosts your profile. It gives you so much more stock in the world, and I think it's something that everybody should be aiming to do. I want you to fight over these spots to go on the interviews because you get so many more fans from it, and it gives you a much bigger avenue to work from.
Agreed, and it brings people to your org as well. If I'm an org, I am pushing all of my players to take every opportunity
100%.
to go on. Because
if there's a language barrier, like I know there is for BDS,
Yes, that's true.
then fair enough. Like, that's a completely different matter.
The thing is as well that I think that a lot of players will be thinking, I'm a bit shy, I'd be nervous, but that's fine. If you're nervous and you stutter or you say something silly, people won't hate you for that. They'll think it's cute. They'll be more attached to you.
It's
They'll
sweet,
think, I'm
yeah.
quite shy.
It's endearing.
So is he. It is endearing. It really is.
Shows you're
So
human.
don't only think you can go on if you are a big abrasive personality that wants to go on and own the joint. I want to hear from every single player that, as you say, can speak the language.
I'd also like to reinforce that point you made, Cole. K-Dop back in the day, Fairy Peak back in the day, they did not speak good English, and that's fine. It's completely okay. And then they started to do some interviews. Then they were learning English a bit better, and they were able to just get more personality out there as they go. Learning English as well is incredibly impressive, and I appreciate it takes a lot of time. I'm trying to learn French, and it's really tough. I've just not got the language part of my brain. So if people are doing really well and getting these interviews out, and then K-Dop, I appreciate his streams in French, but he is a hilarious guy. When he did his English-only stream, it was one of the funniest streams I've seen, because he was just trying to speak English. Every now and then he'd say like, oh, mad. And then his chat just go, mad? Question marks. It's like, what does that mean? And it's just so much fun. So the personality that you can bring out is, you can have it in spades. And I'd love to hear from every single pro that we can hear from. Because on LAN, I think it will prepare you a bit as well. For if you're doing these interviews live on a stream where there's 60,000 people, when you're doing it at LAN, it will then be easier. Because, okay, now there's people there, but you've done this before. There's less people here than there are watching anyway, so who gives a shit?
Never even thought of that. The fact that it would be a competitive advantage if you're used to speaking in front of people. Obviously, it won't be the same when you walk out and your heart's thumping and there's however many thousands of people sort of shouting your name. It is different, but it's practice for that. It's the thought that all eyes are on you and you have the ability to ignore that, focus on the task at hand, whether it's being interviewed or playing Rocket League, which in
And-
theory should be easier because that's what you bloody do.
And if you've been doing these interviews previously, the crowd will be more on your side because they know
True.
you, and then that'll be chanting for you. The greatest overtime ever, Violent Panda, when he put out the comms video, he put in like a little thing on the video saying, we could hear the crowd chanting for us, and it got us excited. Like, because that came up my recommended, so I watched his like comms video again, which is amazing. And yes, it will just feed you. So yeah, we'll stop talking about it now, but please, if you're listening and you're a pro and you don't do interviews, just even say to one of your teammates, like, say, I don't know, if you're Mark by 8, and because Extra does all the interviews, say, hey, like, how do you do interviews? Like, what do you do? Or talk to your org and just see if you can get prepared for them, because I'd love to hear from people. Otherwise, Cole, another thing that I'd love to see is something that TCS have done, and people made sure to remind me that has been done for a little while, is the teams having different colours. So instead of it being blue and orange, it was on the TCS clip that I specifically saw, it was grey and green. It was so cool. All of a sudden, that game has a completely different feel to it. You then know which teams are playing, especially if then you go into a Guild versus Vitality game. If it's then like Golden Vitality versus a Ready Blue Guild, that will look awesome. A BDS, if they're neon blue and pink versus top blokes who are like black and white, how sick would that look? In montages, it will look cool. When you're just looking through a VOD, you can see which game is going on. When there's clips put out, every single series will look different, and it gives teams, again, that bit more brand identity.
Especially as we have now entered a phase of Rocket League where multiple streams going on simultaneously is the norm, i.e. the A stream and the B stream. If I've got both of them at once, and one of them is blue versus yellow, and the other one is white versus yellow, even though two of them are yellow, that just instantly gives me a visual clue as to what I'm watching at any one time, and it stops everything turning into mush in my mind, especially as the fact that Psyonix have done so well to bring out a new wave of decals. So you have the blue and white of Liquid, and they're using their decals. Suddenly, from the ground up, everything is branded and feels real and feels sportsy and feels exciting and different to my crappy ranked games, because mine are just blue and orange. These ones are awesome. I mean, we could go further. We could have esports logos on the floor and in the goal and goal explosion. You know, there's
in the goal. I think I
of a
would
journey.
like on the floor less so, because I think they would get intrusive as like big logos on the floor. Billboards on the side. We've got the tape
ones.
essentially that runs around the bottom ring of the map as well. Whack it on there. Have eggs in the audience. Have them have like signs or whatever, and like hats and stuff. Like, it would just be really cool. Orgs should be 100% for that as well, because it's showing off their branding. Their games look completely different to other games. I think it's also the argument I've seen against it is the esports should be appealing to the casual viewer, which I understand. However, I do not think that there is a significant enough portion of the casual viewer that will be confused by seeing different colours. I think they will see the colours on the pitch and be like, oh, this is different. Why is this different? Oh, their logo is black and white. That makes sense. I think that's the thought process. I don't think it's enough to then go away from doing it.
I don't think it's correct either. You take a game of football, you got the 11 best footballers on one side and the 11 other best footballers on the other side. They're playing at a local park. Someone who's never watched football before isn't going to be that wowed, even if they're doing all sorts of cool tricks, right? However, you scale that up to put them in a huge stadium where half of the stadium is wearing a blue kit and half of the stadium is wearing a green kit, then suddenly you start to get a feel of the impact of what you're watching. You can buy in, the atmosphere begins to be built, and then you start to appreciate the amazing feats that you're watching down there on the pitch itself. I think that this is just something that adds so much from the ground up, and that would be my personal main push.
I think
for
as well,
RL Esports, the visual identity of each individual series.
I think we discussed this in the last podcast. Alpine used all their teams were using the Alpine decal, which looked amazing. Imagine that with their side of the pitch green. You need to like fine tune the colours to make sure they're all good.
Yes,
but one thing I would really like, again, is just to reiterate it. Every single person has to use their team decal if they're using a decal that fits their team. Or they have to use their team colours as part of their colour palette. That's if they're using a Fennec. They have, if you're BDS, you have to use pink and blue. That's just something you have to do. Because bear in mind also, players, you can turn off the forced colours, or they can add that in, because I don't think you can now in private matches. But that can be added in, where they can just turn off the forced colours. So for the players, it looks the exact same. Blue and orange. It will look identical. However, for the viewer, you've got all the signs and the billboards and the coloured explosions behind the goals whenever they score. There's so much we can do as an esport that I'd love to see in terms of branding. And I'm sure, again, that the esports team have looked into this and they are wanting to do this as well, or they've got reasons why they think it wouldn't work. We have literally no idea. But it's something that we both feel would be a fantastic addition.
Yeah, and it's a positive change as well, because in the meantime, Rocket League Esports will continue to be enthralling and brilliant and exciting. But when that does happen, it could well be the new era, at least in the way the esport looks.
Okay, but Cole, along with next year, we will hopefully be having a Worlds as well. Obviously, Fortnite did have theirs cancelled. So they are not going to be having their Worlds. There's been various CSGO events as well that have had their Worlds cancelled too. But just quickly, who do we reckon is going to win? And where do we think it will be? So 2 questions. Let's go with where would we like it to be first? Somewhere it hasn't already been.
I think that the next Worlds will be in North America, because it was North America's turn for
It's meant to be
LAN.
Dallas, yeah.
And I think that's completely fair. If it ended up being in Dallas, I'd be okay. Obviously, selfishly, I'm going to say London, but realistically...
Can't be
North
London, we've already
America...
had that. That's the rule of the question.
Oh, did you say that? Did you say
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. No repeats, because I presume they're not going to want to do repeats.
Oh, I see. Scotland?
Apart from maybe LA.
Could I say Scotland?
You can say Scotland if you want.
Scotland would be incredible. Johnny Boy will just host it at his house.
Scotland.
Get everyone there. We'll leak where Johnny Boy lives, so we can all go to his house and enjoy a nice iron brew
and a haggis. That'll be nice.
But yeah, big Rocket League place is Scotland, and quite cheap as well. So we'll all go there, and we will drink lots of non-alcoholic water and have a great time.
Get the fizzy waters in.
Yeah, baby.
New York.
New York.
I want a New York one. I've been to New York once, and it was amazing, and I was only 13, so I could barely do anything. And I'd love to go to New York again. I love the city. I think it'd be fantastic. New York has also got a really, really cool atmosphere. It's very trendy. It's very hip. It's got really good food. It's got awesome venues. It's a big tourist spot. It's got a really good airport, so you've got good links. It's a little bit out on one side, which is maybe a bit of an issue for some people in America.
So
but
is
equally,
Vegas.
Give it a go. Yeah, true.
Yeah,
And
Vegas.
LA.
Yeah, exactly. So those two are the opposite. And as well about New York, it's a place that is looking to rebound, because New York, as far as I'm aware, even by America standards, was hit particularly hard.
Yeah,
so being able to support industries there will be an amazing thing, and just see, hopefully, a new wave of optimism in a place that is famed for being optimistic. You know, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere and all that. So New York is a great shout.
New York is really cool. So come on, but who wins it? Who wins New York LAN? In Latin. Wait,
Team Envy.
Lanhattan, I change it.
Nice.
Lanhattan.
Team Envy, Turbo Pulsar ends up injuring his elbow really badly. He's in a sling, okay?
Oh, God.
This is going into the final NA regional of the spring split, I think it's called.
Oh my gosh.
And Envy are struggling, and all their points lead is eaten up. They barely qualify for Worlds by the skin of their teeth. No one can believe they've done it, but they're there, and then they win, lol. Turbo's there holding his controller to his side because he's got his hand in a sling. He can barely jump. He doesn't even hit the ball throughout the entire event.
But his positioning.
One of the Octane.gg statisticians, they check, and he literally only hits the ball 3 times.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. And one of them was after he'd fallen asleep because of jet lag from wherever he lives to New York in America. He's just there sleeping.
Where does he
His
live?
car rolls. It gets
Georgia?
an epic save. Turbo wins.
He used to live in Georgia with Garrett. Imagine if they still lived in the same house, by the way.
That'd be cute.
I think it'd be horrible.
Oh.
Well, because they 4-0'd them. Imagine how awkward
still be
that is when
pals.
Turbo then walks downstairs and is having a cereal.
I stopped you winning about $500 more because I beat you in Twitch Rivals, mate, and yet we're still friends.
Did. Well, yeah, but we also didn't live together. If I went out my room and I saw you going, ha
I beat you.
All right, brilliant. I think it's going to be a BDS win, right? BDS, as ever, they just get back on top. They find their form. And after the final game, Extra steps up to do the interview. And he says, actually, I don't want to do the interview. I've got Mark Bate. And then Mark wanders over and he goes,
All right.
Hey there, how's it going? I've been practicing my English. That
Watching
was an
John
amazing
Sandman.
series versus Turbo Pulsar, and I feel so bad for his elbow.
Thanks.
That's how he
mate.
sounds. That's how Turbo sounds.
Thank you, Mark Bate.
Then, my boy, I am the 4-time world champion, not quite 5, though.
Yeah, well, not quite 5. Embarrassing for Turbo.
Embarrassing. See, okay,
Cool.
so it's going to be New York or Scotland, and then with BDS or Envy.
Deal. I would take either of those combinations.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the 56th. I wouldn't say 6th.
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 Is it actually 6th? Or is it
Yeah.
6th?
Not 6th. You don't do an S and then a th.
Well, no,
It's
but
sixth.
you're putting in the X.
S, the way I'm spelling it in my mind,
SIXTH.
SICKTH. 6th.
Okay. But but is 6th the actual way? That's how I would say it normally. But is that the actual way it's said? Or is that just like a colloquialized version of how it should be said?
6th.
Should it? Yeah, or should it be 6th?
The 6th. The 6th.
6th.
Maybe that's received pronunciation way of saying it or whatever. The 6th day of
Well,
the
thank you
last
very much for
month
listening.
of 2001.
2001, Ipswich lost.
It wasn't even a penalty.
Don't give a shit. Poddy C number 56th. Thank you very much. Appreciate you all. If you were a patron, fuck you. And if you're not already a patron, thank you. Otherwise, we will see you in episode numero 57, which might be in 2021. We don't know. Bye.